I refer to our good friend Dr. Rob Otto, who is working in South Florida at a counseling center. He and his wife have also volunteered for over a decade at Crew Military, formerly the military ministry of Campus Crusade for Christ. So you are uniquely equipped, Rob, to talk about what has gone on with this dispute over chaplains actually sharing their faith. How could that be interpreted in today's Army as crossing the line?
Well, I think in our culture today we have taken faith and we've said it's supposed to be separate from what we believe in and what we live. And you're supposed to keep that to yourself. And is faith relevant in real life? Is it relevant in the crisis moments of life? And chaplains would say yes, it is. And we'd like to talk about it.
Well, wasn't this chaplain just sharing his personal testimony, would you say?
As far as I understand from the news, he was sharing at a suicide prevention meeting, and he told about his journey with depression and how faith helped him through that.
When we look at the challenges our military faces, and perhaps you can talk about your own experiences spending time in the military as you did, how widespread are the challenges of stress and contemplation of suicide in the Army?
I had 3 soldiers who tried to take their life. I lost a roommate from West Point, a good friend, to suicide. I have a friend who spoke at a Navy SEALs memorial service last year after he took his own life. And I have a chaplain friend who was my roommate who can't go into hospital elevators because of the post-traumatic stress that he was dealing with from praying for a soldier in a hospital in Iraq and Baghdad. And so these are relevant issues. These are very difficult issues, and they touch on the very core of what we believe in. And if God is not relevant right there, and if we can't talk about it right there, then what good is our faith?
Rob, talk to us about the history the Army has in helping these soldiers deal with these sorts of things.
Sure. In 1775, the Continental Congress brought chaplains on board and said that's important. A year later, in July of 1776, George Washington said that we want chaplains to help soldiers learn how to live as Christian men as they defend the liberties that we enjoy. The military has taken chaplaincy seriously since that point. Only recently in the last decades have we tried to relegate faith to chapel services or Sunday services or religious activities, and in a sense neuter chaplains from being able to speak freely about their faith in moments of crisis. But when a soldier comes back from a combat mission and he's just seen one of his friends die, and that chaplain comes up and puts his arm around him and says, "Can I pray for you?" That's perfectly appropriate for that chaplain to do. And that is not a worship service. That is a moment of crisis in that soldier's life when he needs to know that there is something bigger than him that is important and that can help.
And we only have a minute left in this segment. Thankfully, you're going to stay with us to continue to talk about this subject. But with 30 seconds left, do you fear that literally combat ministry goes away for chaplains because of this urge to relegate religious beliefs back into a confined area?
In practice, no. I think that chaplains will always pray with their soldiers, and soldiers will always seek that out. Unfortunately, there will be situations like this where chaplains will be challenged, perhaps after the fact, as stepping across a line that shouldn't exist, that doesn't exist, but that we expect in some circles to exist.
Rob Otto, you've had an interesting life, from going to school at West Point to being an infantry officer, being qualified as airborne and ranger. And when we come back, we're going to talk to you some about what you encounter on a daily basis with some of our military. Don't go away. Rob Otto stays with us here on America's Forum.